parallel universes? What are you talking about? Now, mainstream science is slowly coming around to understand that. Where do you come in with this?
Well, I love that you asked that because, first of all, there's so much evidence. Mainstream science is actually accepting that they're real. My goal is to find out if they're real, how do we use them? How do we use them to better our lives, to create a better life for ourselves? And I use it all the time, and it's possible to use them to change your realities.
What's your take on parallel universes? Give me Pam Oslie's definition.
Basically, the way I describe them is they're right as close to you. There's parallel universes as close to you as your breath. And I like to use the analogy of like radio waves, right? If you're listening to a certain station, say 99.9, and you change the dial to 101.7, you've tuned into, now you're going to pick up the show, the information that's coming from that station. But the radio waves for 99.9 are around you the whole time. You're just not tuning into them. You're not at that frequency, so they don't become part of your reality, and yet they're around you all the time anyway. And so what science is saying is that this is how it works. Let's say you're walking down the street, and you look inside a store, and you go, oh, I'd really like to go in there and buy a new shirt. I don't have time. I have to get to a meeting. And you keep going. Well, what science is saying is there's an actual you. I know it sounds like Star Trek, like science fiction, but a lot of things that were science fiction are now science fact. So there's an actual you that goes into that store, buys the shirt, and is having a completely separate life from the you that kept walking down the street to go to a meeting.
And if there happens to be 1,000 parallel universes, does that mean there could be 1,000 yous?
Yeah, actually, George, an infinite number of you. We think we're three-dimensional beings, and we're actually multidimensional beings. That's what's so exciting about what quantum physics is talking about now. It's mind-blowing if we could really get what quantum physics is saying, but of course most people just kind of glaze over. There are an infinite number of you running around in an infinite number of parallel universes. We just think there's only one because we've been trained to think there's only one, but we go in and out of them all the time. We're only just focusing on one, so we think there's only one.
When we talk about the Big Bang, a theory I still have a very difficult time trying to comprehend. Mm-hmm. Are these parallel universes all physical, or are some of them dimensional? What might they be?
Well, God, that's a great question. You know what? Well, first of all, a lot of physicists now are saying that there's multiple Big Bangs. There wasn't just one bang, that the universes are banging all the time. Mm-hmm. That sounded bad, didn't it? Anyway, so what they're saying is there's new universes being created all the time. Now, some physicists believe that that's parallel universes, that new universes are being formed all the time. There's also the theory that these universes already exist, that every thought that you have, every choice that you ever made, you split off into another dimension, which is where people who have crossed over are, or people in other frequencies, other realms, whether, and it's all energy anyway. So when you go, well, is it physical? It's as physical as anything. If you look at quantum physics and they're saying it's all energy, there's really nothing physical about us. So they're just in different realms, different frequencies.
Can people somehow stumble into these other parallel universes?
Yes, we do it all the time. That's what I mean, that every time you make a choice, one of you splits off to that one and one of you splits off to the one that you didn't. So, like, for example, George, in one universe, you're probably married to somebody that you met in high school. In another one, you're not even doing radio. You're doing a completely different, you're being an actor, or you're living in another country. So the cool thing is we can connect with those parallel universes. For every choice that you made, that split off and went into another universe. We can connect with those other selves. We probably experiencing them through deja vu, or having a sense, or having a dream that something happened. According to physics, quantum physics, all of those are actually happening simultaneously. Same thing as other lives, or what we sometimes call past lives. They're all happening simultaneously, but they're other parallel universes.
Do we die physically in these other universes?
Sure, we can, just as much as we can in this lifetime. I don't know if you know much about David Deutsch. You probably do. He's really big on parallel universes. I got to spend hours with him one-on-one when I was in England. And he was talking about, he said, even if you die in one parallel universe, you're still alive in a lot of others. And, boy, I tell you, I brought my cat back to life once doing that. He disappeared for 3 days. And I went, nope, I'm not ready to let go of my cat yet. I'm going to go into another universe where my cat is still alive, and doggone it if he didn't show up. He was all bleeding and cut and pleading and cut and everything, but he showed back up. I went into a universe where my cat was still alive.
Well, wait a minute. How'd you go into that universe?
I focused on it. I believed in it. I've learned how to consciously shift into parallel universes, and I have dramatic examples of how that's worked. That's why I wrote about it in Infinite You. So what I did was I went, all right, right now I'm currently in a universe where my cat is no longer here, because my cat did not disappear for 3 days. He never did that. So I focused on the one where I knew he was still alive. I breathed into it. I surrounded myself with it. I imagined myself in that other universe. It became so real for me. I knew it was a total reality, and that's the one I ended up being. We've got movies on that. We've got Back to the Future, Sliding Doors, even It's a Wonderful Life. Those are all about parallel universes.
Is it possible that in the dream state, is also a parallel universe?
Yes. That's another form of our consciousness. Yeah, it can be looked at there. It's another state of consciousness. It's a parallel universe. Absolutely. Now, of course, you and I are talking about something here that most people, just what you said, are going, what? What are you talking about? But this is not just woo-woo. This is not some person that's ungrounded, imagining, or delusional. This is actually quantum physics.
Well, it is quantum physics at its best.
Yep. And we're not using it. You know what blows me away, George? We are really amazing beings. We have all these abilities that thousands of us on the planet are actually utilizing: telepathy, psychic ability, seeing auras, talking to people on the other side, which are in parallel universes, seeing other lives. There are thousands of us. You're seeing how many people are showing up with these abilities. If we have these abilities, that means everyone is capable of having these same abilities. Now, some people are going to be better than others, just like some people are better athletes and better artists and better musicians, singers, whatever. But it doesn't mean all of us can't learn to play a piano. It's just that some are better at it. There's so many of us using these abilities. It's like and it creates more freedom, more joy, more empowerment, more compassion. This is how we change the world. This is how we change life. This is how we change poverty and starvation. It's like knowing that these other realities actually exist and focusing on those instead of the ones where there's all these problems and dramas.
Let's come back and talk about other parallel universes. We'll get into deja vu, too, with Pam Oslie right here on Coast to Coast AM. Her website's always linked up at coasttocoastam.com. I'm George Norrie. Back in a moment on Coast to Coast AM. Welcome back. Pam Oslie with us, author, Infinite You, also Life Colors. We'll talk a little bit about auras in a moment. We'll take your calls as well. Deja vu. You've got that. You're talking to somebody, you're thinking of something, and you know exactly what's going to happen next. Or you're saying, oh, I know what that person's going to say. You've been there before. Is that a crossover in a parallel universe, Pam?
Well, that's what I think, George. I think that we connect with a parallel universe, and it's like, whoa, and it intersects. It's when we connect with them.
Well, there's no question about that. Now, how does that leak over?
You know what? I think it's where we intersect. It's like one you made a decision to go on the left path, and another you decided to take the right path, the right fork, and then somewhere in the future or somewhere up the road, you guys kind of intersect. You both started making the same decision, and you connect with each other. I mean, what else could it be? You know, I mean, it's like we're either incredibly psychic, which we are, or we're, like they said, quantum physics is proving. They have evidence that we have parallel universes. So doesn't it make sense to you that we're connecting with it on that level? That's why it's such an eerie feeling, isn't it?
Oh, it sure is.
Wow, I know I've experienced that before. It's like the Matrix, right?
So if we have all these universes and all these other us were there,
yes.
What about the souls?
What about the soul?
Yeah.
Oh, see, do
we have just one and the others don't? Or do they all have?
No, we have what's called an oversoul. It's a huge, infinite aspect of who we are. And the way I've experienced it is that our souls have split off to have lots of different experiences. There's no way our soul could experience everything it wants to in one little lifetime, and then the next little lifetime. It's too infinite. It's too grand for that. So it splits off and it's like an octopus with lots of different tentacles. It's having multi-dimensional experiences simultaneously to get the fullness of its infinite self.
Take a few calls here while we chat. Jeff in Culver City, California, west of the Rockies. Hey, Jeffrey.
Hi, George and Mrs. Pam Oslie. Yes, the idea of parallel universes and multiple dimensions is fascinating. Some scientists and parapsychologists claim that there are as many as 12 separate dimensions, and each person is interacting with all 12 of these dimensions at the same time. For example, I might be in Dimension 1 riding a bike, Dimension 2 dancing with my wife, Dimension 3 on an island in the South Pacific, and, of course, now in this dimension, talking on the phone to you guys. My question is this, Mrs. Oslie. Given that I'm possibly operating in all 12 dimensions simultaneously, could it be possible theoretically through dreams for me to access, say, very important information from one of these dimensions and use it in my present dimensional state?
Absolutely. Great question. We're doing it all the time. That's why we don't have our linear brains thinking that there's only one reality and we have to stay focused on that. We go into parallel universes all the time to solve it, to get information from other, and according to some of the physicists, there's an infinite number of you, not just 12 dimensions. They figure out certain dimensions. They use more dimensions than that to send a rocket to the moon. There's infinite dimensions, so we have access to other selves, of our other selves that can give us answers, can give us insights, because we've already figured it out in other parallel universes. So yes, they can show up in dreams, they can show up in hunches, in intuition, in deja vus. We can access any of those at any time.
You wrote a book called Life Colors, which talked about people's auras. We all have auras, but explain a little bit more, Pam, on what an aura is.
Well, it's an energy field, George. Again, E equals MC squared. I mean, supposedly everything's made of energy, right? Well, we radiate out energy. And in my experience, the different colors or the different frequencies that radiate out from you, we're broadcasting who we are all the time. So the colors around you reveal a lot about your life purpose, the theme you've chosen for this lifetime, your personality, careers that are going to be the most fulfilling, because you're a violet yellow. Violets love the media. They need to reach the masses. Yellows have a sense of humor. So each of the different colors have a personality type to us and potential health issues that go along with it. It helps us validate who we are instead of, you know how many people are out there in unfulfilling careers, unfulfilling relationships. They can't figure out what they're doing. Well, the aura colors can help a person identify themselves, live their true colors. Sorry for that pun, but I think that's where it comes from. And also get along with other people. It helps us understand each other so we can allow people to live their true colors instead of going, how come you can't be more like me? You need to think more like me. They're probably a different aura color personality.
Do the aura colors change?
Well, in my experience, now again, I would never tell someone they can't do anything. In my experience, the one or two bands of colors closest to a person's body, those are typically the colors that don't change through a lifetime. The outer bands in the aura change all the time according to what's going on with the person at the time. Now, I've run into people that see the aura differently. They experience it differently, and that's fine. We all taste food differently, too. You know, there's certain people that like asparagus, and I know they're not tasting what I'm tasting. So it's the same thing with the aura. So that's how I see it. The outer bands change all the time, but typically your life colors don't change. It fits in with your astrology, your numerology, your iridology. It's like it's the plan that you decided on when you came here.
Pam, if somebody's very sick or about to die, do they have an aura? Does it have a color?
If somebody's really sick, their aura can get very faded. I have seen people that they don't have any auras anymore, and their aura, they don't have an aura anymore. I actually went skydiving with a group of people, and they found out I could see auras, and that if they didn't have an aura, they were about to die. So every single one of them before they jumped out of the plane went, wait, do I have an aura? Do I have an aura? But no, the aura disappeared.
If you had said to them, you don't have an aura, I wouldn't jump.
That's exactly right, exactly right. And, you know, there's biophysicists that are studying this, and they said, well, it's really obvious. When somebody's dead, there's no life energy radiating from them.